A dream home out in the country, it's a fantasy for so many of us. But what happens when that dream twists into an absolute nightmare? Well, for Jennifer Patterson, that's exactly what happened. Today, we're going to dive into her chilling true story, a haunting that pushed a family to its breaking point. Just imagine that for a second. Being jolted awake by a sound so violent you're sure someone is breaking in. For this young family, this was just one of many terrifying moments they had to endure. And the thing is, this wasn't a break-in, at least not in the way we think of it. The real threat was already inside the house. All right, so let's set the scene. We're going back to the summer of 2008. Our story centers on 24-year-old Jennifer Patterson. And her dream? It was simple, really. All she wanted was a place in the country, a home where she could live with her horses. Pretty idyllic, right? And then bam, she found it, what seemed like the perfect spot. I mean, look at this list. A house with 5 acres and a barn for the horses. It had a stocked pond out back, a cute front porch. Inside, these charming exposed wooden beams just gave it so much character. For Jennifer, this was it. This was way more than just a house. It was the beginning of her future. She was completely in love with it. But you know where this is going, right? That dream started to fray almost immediately. Seriously, before a single box was even unpacked, this unsettling feeling started to creep in. Something was just wrong with this house. It all started small, with things that are, kind of easy to dismiss at first. A friend visits the empty house and swears she saw someone walk across a hallway. Then a really strong, distinct smell of Old Spice aftershave starts following Jennifer from room to room, like someone was standing right over her shoulder. Soon after that, she's hearing faint conversations, old-timey country music, but there's no radio on. And like any of us would, she just tried to rationalize it, hoping it was all in her head. So to try and kind of reset the energy, fill the house with some positivity, Jennifer decides to throw a housewarming party. But the night didn't bring any comfort. Instead, it brought a chilling, undeniable confirmation of all her growing fears. Can you imagine this? You're in the middle of your own party, having a good time, and a guest you barely know pulls you aside and drops this bombshell on you. He tells her there's a man and a woman in the house, that they aren't alive, and flat out says they don't want you here. Absolutely bone-chilling. Jennifer's reaction was, well, probably what yours or mine would be. She kind of blew him off, thinking he was just some weird guy trying to be scary. But the next day, her friend calls and delivers the truth. Her boyfriend? He's a psychic. This wasn't some joke. It was a dead serious warning. And it didn't take long for things to escalate from those subtle whispers to something way more overt. Jennifer had made sure the attic door was shut and secured, so to have it suddenly slam open with this violent bam, and to see her dogs just go ballistic, barking like crazy up the stairs, this was the moment it became totally undeniable. From this point on, things took a much, much darker turn. It wasn't just about making its presence known anymore. Whatever was in that house was becoming physically aggressive. It was becoming genuinely dangerous. I mean, this is direct physical assault. It started with a disembodied voice literally screaming, "Get out!" at her in the basement. As she's running up the stairs to get away, she feels fingers grab her leg. But the most terrifying attack came later. She was just standing at the top of the stairs, a good foot away from the edge, and she felt hands on her back and was violently shoved all the way down, actually breaking her ribs. Okay, so around this time, Jennifer's new partner, Shawn, moves in. And Shawn, he's a self-proclaimed guy of science. He's a total skeptic. He's looking for drafts, for faulty wiring, for any logical explanation for the crazy stories he's hearing. Well, his skepticism didn't last long. One night, they're just watching TV, and an inflatable mattress that was stored way up high on a pantry shelf doesn't just fall. It flew. It flew horizontally across the 3-foot hallway and slammed into the opposite wall at the exact same height. It was a moment that just completely defied the laws of physics. And that was it. That was a turning point for him. He just looked at Jennifer and said, "I can't explain it, so I know what you were talking about." He was now a believer. So now that they're both on the same page, the activity it goes into overdrive. They start enduring these nightly terrors. They'd see a shadow figure, blacker than the black in the room, just standing over their bed. They'd hear their locked bedroom doorknob turning, then the lock would pop and the door would swing wide open. Then came the massive bang on the front door. Shawn, thinking it's a home invasion, grabs a gun, clears the entire 5-acre property, and finds absolutely nothing. Not a footprint, not a broken branch, nothing. As absolutely terrifying as all of this was, the real breaking point, the final straw, came when the presence turned its attention to their children. And Shawn's question here just perfectly captures the helplessness they were feeling. I mean, think about it. How do you protect your kids from something you can't see, you can't touch, you can't fight? So this was the moment that would make any parent's blood run cold. They walk in and find their 3-year-old son reading a book, but not to himself. He's talking to an empty space right beside him, turning the pages to show the pictures to someone that only he could see. The haunting had officially crossed a line. For Jennifer, that was it. The mama bear instinct just took over. It was one thing for these spirits to harass the adults, but it was a whole other thing to start interacting with her child. Her reaction was immediate and fierce. No, 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 you leave them alone. They knew, right then and there, it was time to go. So the family made their decision. They tried everything else. They realized they had to abandon the home, the dream home that they had once loved so much. What happened afterwards is just as compelling. Paranormal investigators came in and captured electronic voice phenomena, EVPs, that were so clear they actually accused the family of faking them at first. A house blessing did nothing. But maybe the biggest validation came when Jennifer's super skeptical parents had their own terrifying experiences while they were trying to renovate the empty house. So what happened to the house? Well, public records show that it's been sold at least 3 times since the Pattersons fled. It just raises the question of whether anyone has ever been able to find peace there. But here's the most telling part. The moment the Patterson family moved out, the paranormal activity stopped. Completely. It just proved that whatever this haunting was, it was tied to the house, not to them. They were finally free. So we'll leave you with this final thought from Shawn, the former skeptic. His terrifying ordeal left him with a pretty profound warning. There are some things in this world that are just better left undisturbed. A haunting reminder that some mysteries might be best left unsolved.